Hi everyone, I'm John Renney and welcome to the Boneyard. As movie fans, we all have those favourites that change the way we looked at cinema. In this episode, I want to take a quick look at a movie that certainly had a huge impact on me as a young film fan. So get out those gang colours and get ready for the chase as we take a look at the armies of the night. With Walter Hill's film of The Warriors. The Warriors made great business on its release and then was pulled from theatres. The gang-related plot caused some outbreaks of violence in some cinemas, and of course, the studio can't have that, and Paramount pulled the movie. And then slowly, in the days of VHS, word of mouth spread, and the film became a cult classic, which has since had an incredible impact on cinema and popular culture. Phrases like, "Warriors come out to play," and "Can you dig it?" have become part of film lore, and these great moments of performance in cinema helped the movie to find new audiences and influence new generations of film fans to this very day.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Many modern-day filmmakers, such as Edgar Wright, are constantly referencing director Walter Hill's kinetic style of shooting action and his incredible use of editing and colour.
This movie is a movie I saw on TV when I was young, and it's stuck with me ever since. It's a hardball gem, and I find it kind of hypnotic in its simplicity. Walter Hill's style of writing and directing have similar aims. There's a brutal directness, a very clear sense of craft, and a terse, stark dynamic to the action and dialogue. And one of the reasons I think this and his other films continue to hold up is that because great storytelling never goes out of style.
In 2005, the movie even had its own PlayStation 2 release from Rockstar Games.
I figured they were wimps.
Which, along with the release of the director's cut of the movie the same year, helped solidify the movie's status as a stone-cold classic.
Ajax! Make sure you call me!
What the Warriors! Suck on this,
Hope that bitch was worth it.
The Warriors is adapted from Sol Urich's 1965 novel of the same name and takes place over one night in New York City as a street gang has to fight to survive as they train hop their way back to Coney Island, which is their gang turf, after being framed for the murder of another gang's leader named Cyrus, who was trying to take over the whole of Manhattan using street gangs as his militia.
We take over one borough at a time, because it's all our turf.
The novel and the movie both take their influence from the myth of Anabasis and the Greek soldier Xenophon, who wrote of an army of 10,000 Greek mercenary soldiers who were stranded many miles from home after their employer, Cyrus the Younger, was killed. Their mission now a failure, they had to fight their way back from ancient Persia to the Black Sea against unbeatable odds. This historical story is alluded to much more heavily in the director's cut of The Warriors, which also includes a comic book style intro narrated by Walter Hill himself, giving us the mythic backstory.
Theirs was a story of courage. This, too, is a story of courage.
The movie is drenched in Greek mythology and includes a Greek chorus throughout the film from a radio DJ who gives us updates as to how our heroes are doing.
Our friends are on second base and trying to make it all the way home. Stay tuned, bombers.
And the movie even has a group of sirens, an all-female gang named the Lizzies. Walter Hill always said that the story only made sense to him as a comic book, and years later, when he supervised the director's cut, he edited in comic book style scene transitions and animations to allude to the myth and his originally intended comic book style.
I don't think I had made my leap yet into the comic book sensibility of the piece. As a matter of fact, I think the film is almost only explicable in comic book terms. In many ways, there's a kind of good feeling about the movie too, almost silliness, but that was the intention. I later came to realize that the studio kind of forced me into the comic book idea, I think, because it was about the only way I could make it all make sense to myself. You had to create a different kind of reality.
I only mention this as if you decide to watch the movie after this review, the director's cut is a cool addition to the story and gives nods to the Greek myth's influence on the film, but I would advise viewers to start with the original, which is still available on DVD, as I think the additions of the comic book inserts make the film lose its gritty edge. And even though The Warriors is definitely a fantasy film, and that was Walter Hill's intention, in fact, I would even go as far as to call the film a sci-fi movie because of its futuristic dystopian setting in a crumbling near future. But for me, the comic book edits immediately dated the film, as they were added in the mid-2000s around the same time of films like 300 and Sin City, and the style doesn't mesh well with the beautiful 70s style nighttime photography.
Hey, wait a minute, I gotta ask a question. How come we're running?
And the way that the crew used the derelict streets of late 70s New York to permeate the film with an atmosphere of dread and fear, which already gave the film a distinctive comic book and fantasy character.
Look, what do you got against me? You've been picking on me all night.
You want me to tell you the truth?
I also wanted to mention Barry DeVorson's score for the film, which uses synthesizers and rock and roll, and also adds a sense of foreboding and dread to the movie, which at times even makes The Warriors feel like a horror movie to me, especially in the case of the gang's huge fight scene with the badass gang of the Baseball Furies, who were designed to be a mix of baseball and more 70s rock style makeup like the band Kiss. The Warriors is a real one-off, and Hill is a one-off director. His mix of genres throughout his career make his movies pretty hard to pin down. The Warriors is a mix of sci-fi, action, and I would say horror, just like his other movies like Streets of Fire are mashups of westerns, action, past and future feeling settings, and even musicals. But sometimes, I guess that just works for a movie to make it unusual, and is part of what I personally think makes Hill a true auteur, because there's nothing quite like his genre mashup movies.
How come you're so happy about this? I'm having a good time.
The world of The Warriors is brought to us by Walter Hill, who is known for his distinctive style, simple, hard-hitting narratives, and dramatic action. You gonna go for it? World building is also something that I think Walter Hill does better than any other director. I don't mean by using copious amounts of CGI or inventing head-spinning rules that dictate the world in which the film is set. I mean that within the first few minutes of The Warriors, through his use of cinematic tools such as color, framing, music, costume, and cinematography, Hill uses the dilapidated streets of the real New York City locations to throw us into a dystopian world of perpetual night, street gangs, terror, and violence that is familiar, but yet feels extraordinary and new. And for me, right from the opening scenes, that is exciting. By the end of the rock and roll scored spray-painted opening titles, we are in the neon-lit subway-tunneled concrete jungle of The Warriors. We know who the characters are, their strengths and weaknesses, and who to root for. It is a beautiful cinematic opening sequence that, in my opinion, is one of the greatest opening credit sequences of cinema history.
I'll tell you something. I'll bet nobody's even gonna be there.
I would like to give mention to Andrew Laszlo, who was the director of photography on The Warriors, as it is his use of reflected light from subway cars and use of wet down long city streets that helped to give the movie these beautiful pools of light for the Warriors to run through that look visually incredible.
Maybe we better take off.
Yeah, right.
As Walter Hill himself said on the film, if you surround yourself with good technicians and good people, that is what makes a successful movie.
If you can supply a direction, the collaboration of very talented people on a motion picture, there's no end that they can help you.
And as well as Hill's direction and Laszlo's camera work, the costumes from veteran designer Bobby Mannix makes The Warriors look like a ragtag sci-fi vision of a future where only the brave will survive.
And the look and the style of the picture is very much attributable to Bobby as well as a number of others.
It is safe again to say that the Boneyard most certainly recommends this movie. However, I will say that the film does include fight scenes and violence, a lot of swear words and homophobic slurs, so be ready for that if you do choose to watch the film. The main reason I personally recommend The Warriors as a fan of cinema is the film's distinctive look. There are other great looking movies for sure, such as The Terminator, After Hours, Escape from New York, Death Wish and Taxi Driver, that are beautiful movies set in similar nocturnal fantasy worlds, but for me, The Warriors is the best. It's the most beautiful looking, grungy style movie that I've ever seen. It's not very often you see a movie shot like this, that has moments that say everything you need to know about the character, the city, the time, and the emotion in a single shot. For me, The Warriors is a beautiful looking piece of cinematic magic. At his best, Walter Hill is a master of cinema, and in his films like Hard Times, The Warriors, Streets of Fire, The Driver, and Southern Comfort, through his authored style and use of locations and filmic design, he transported us to these crazy, beautiful, violent, stylized worlds, which I just fell straight into and wanted to be part of. And for that hour and a half I was there. And you can't ask for better than that from a cinematic storyteller.
Where have you ever been?
I've never been anywhere. I just know I'd like it.
Thanks for watching. If you would like to hear more from me about Walter Hill and other filmmakers, please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about The Warriors, and also the director's cut, which might also be fun to discuss in the comments below. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.